Once again, coming to you live from the city with the fourth busiest airport in the world, it's time for the Long Shot podcast. Tonight's episode, the yet another Thanksgiving episode. And now, please welcome the hosts of the Long Shot, Amber Kenny and Shawn Conroy. Got it.
Yeah. Keep it in. Hello and welcome to the Long Shot podcast. I am Amber Kenny. I am one of your hosts, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be hosting for you. This is the Long Shot podcast. I am here alongside our other co-host, Shawn Conroy.
Hi.
I didn't mention where we're recording from because I feel like I covered it pretty sufficiently last episode, but should I cover that again?
I think it's up to you. I for myself, I always look at it in terms of script writing. Like what you want to do when you're writing a script is you go, this is where we are, this is who's there and what's happening, and then the people talk.
Well, but also you want the episode to be a standalone. You want it to work well in the canon, but also if somebody just plucks this magical episode, I don't want them to be like, wait, where are they recording from? What's going on?
Right. Yeah. Like they could be in a submarine. They could be on the International
Anything's
Space
possible.
Station. Yeah, we don't know where
Okay, so I'll cover it. I'm at my house. We're recording via Zoom. Shawn, where are you?
I'm at my house, which is really not a house. It's more of an apartment, but that's where I am.
I guess same. I'm at my home, which is...
But are you allowed to say house even though it's an apartment? I feel like you can.
Yeah.
In that context.
Like you won't get arrested. So I keep... it's like an ongoing thing that has happened to me several times now. I live in an apartment, but it doesn't have an apartment number. The way this building, each apartment has its own address.
I see. So, and none of them are like...
There's no B, there's no C.
Half? I feel like that's the thing they do in LA is they go 240.
There is a half. There's a half. I don't have a half.
Oh, there are halves.
There are halves. I don't have a half. I'm a whole.
Nice.
But people keep being like, you forget the apartment number. And I'm like, I actually didn't. That's my address. Like, I love that people think that I don't.
Who are you having these conversations with? They sound like assholes.
I might be heightening it a little bit, but I guess it gets under my skin that people think that I don't know my address. You know,
that you don't deserve a home.
And I'm just like floating around, like giving people half addresses and somehow surviving.
They're like, there's no way you live in an actual house. You live in an apartment. What's the number?
You piece of crap.
Fucking asshole. That does beg the question, though. How much are you giving out your address?
Constantly. Anyone I meet, I'm like, you want my address?
Ma'am, I'm just waiting for the bus. I don't need your... Like, I know you live around here. It doesn't matter to me where specifically.
All right, well...
I'm kind of insulting you more by saying that you're the kind of trash that rides the bus, you know.
The bus is a great thing to ride. It's good for the economy. Not really, but it's good for the environment.
Good for the environment. That's absolutely true.
It's great. It's like the number one way to help the gridlock that I've heard you complain about.
Yeah, I do. I complain about it.
I think riding the bus is for cool guys. Mm-hmm. I just don't leave the house at all anymore. I'm fully agoraphobic.
The bus is one of the top 5 places at least in Los Angeles. The bus is one of the top 5 places where people just willy-nilly give out their address.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a good place for you to do that.
I took the bus to work for, I want to say years, but who knows? At least 1 year.
Where?
When I lived in Hollywood, like by UCB.
Oh, out here.
And I worked in West Hollywood, and I took the bus every day. And one time a guy was nice and chatting with me. In hindsight, I shouldn't have engaged. But throughout the conversation, it became clear that he was unhoused.
Mm-hmm.
And he assumed I also was unhoused. So I was like, I gotta brush my hair more often.
And stop carrying around all those giant bags of stuff with you.
Like, he was like, where do you stay? And I was like, oh, well, here's my address.
You know what I mean? Perfect. So this is our Thanksgiving episode, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We got to talk offline about what we'll do next week.
Yeah, we do. We don't want to have that conversation in front of the kids.
No. Inappropriate. But we like to start a show with a segment we call Checking In.
Yeah.
Shawn, do you have anything?
No. I have a long story, as always, but why don't you go first?
Sure. I did something very exciting I'm in a good mood right now, and it's exciting because that has
two of us. That makes two of us.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow.
No, one.
But I haven't been in a good mood in a very long time. That's really a sad thing to say. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like I've been necessarily depressive the whole time, but like in an actual, like, there's some pep in my step. It's been a minute, and I can't quite remember how long it's been. I am in a good mood for a lot of reasons. One is it's going to sound counterintuitive, but work has been insanely hard. I start working at like...
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, just trust me. I'm going to take you on a journey. I start work at like 8 a.m. and then I stopped working 10 minutes ago. Like 15 minutes ago. It's a long day, and it's a
midnight here, by the way, folks. So that's 14 hours.
And it's also like I stopped to eat lunch, and I might like find a sliver of time to go take Smudgy for a walk in the afternoon.
You were going to say, I stopped to eat lunch, and lunchtime, I might find like a saltine underneath the counter,
But point is, I'm realizing either the last role I was in was very easy, or the role I'm in now is very challenging, or it might be like a combi. But I don't really get breaks. I don't really get a chance to catch my breath or call a family member, or like I'm just working. And my favorite are days where it's like every email and every meeting I'm in is like, here are the 100 urgent things, but you're going to be in back-to-back meetings. Like, basically, I've got 8 hours worth of physical work, but I'm in meetings. So when am I supposed to do this? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The math doesn't add up.
But you enjoy what you're doing.
No. No.
Got it. Check.
No, I think I'm getting there. I'm starting to enjoy it, but I like on Monday, on Tuesday, it was like Herculean. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the week. Side note, I'm taking next week off work. It is my first week off work all year. Like, I've taken a day here and there, but my first full week.
Nice.
So I'm very excited about that, but it also means that I have to do 2 weeks worth of work this week.
Right.
To prepare things. So anyway, on Monday and Tuesday, it just looked impossible and insurmountable. And at some point this afternoon, I was like, I think that I know I have a ton of work still to do tomorrow. I know that, but it's like achievable. I could see the finish line, and I'm going to have a week off. And it also feels good to work that hard. Like, I think it's frustrating when you work that hard and you're not getting anywhere, if you're just like spinning, but I'm working hard and I'm accomplishing things. So it personally feels good. So I'm in a, oh no.
I'm here.
Okay. You weren't. I like closed Zoom or something. But so yeah, I'm in a good mood. It's gonna be okay.
You're feeling a sense of accomplishment at work based on the goals you set for yourself this weekend because you have next week off.
Yes, I'm feeling a sense of accomplishment and excitement for relaxation, and it won't be a week off work where I'm just like, ooh, I should be working. Like, I really am going to be able to relax. And there was one thing that happened at work today that I literally had tears running down my face. I was laughing so hard. I don't know if I'm just like losing it.
You were already in a good mood, and this put you over the top.
Well, we work with different vendors on different campaigns for shows. Who cares? No one cares. It's so boring. But one of our vendors.
When you say vendors, I always think of like.
I guess I could say agencies, different agencies.
Right, because vendors to me is like the guy at Madison Square Garden who's like
with peanuts.
You know.
So we work with different agencies on different campaigns, and one of them, and that's also been tricky. Like, in theory, they're taking work off my plate, but they're like, hey, can I have this? Can I have this? Can you show me where this is? And I'm like, go away and like do the work. I have other things to do.
And I'm in a meeting right now.
Exactly. But one of them was like, hey, we need the lyrics to this one specific song in this one show. Can you get that for me? And I'm like, sure. And I have a relationship with the guy in the music department. So I asked for that. And he's like, oh, you know what? This is actually like a co-production. And so he looped in another team, and then they looped in another team. This was like a 2-week request. One
song.
I'm going to start crying again. It came in today. It was literally just like la, 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 la. Like, it was nonsense.
Get me the marketing department. We need to find out what the lyrics to that song are.
It took me 2 weeks to track that down, and it was like absolute nonsense. And so I had
to sign a form to get this information.
And like 16 people were involved. So I had tears running to my face laughing, and I just I debated whether I should reference what the actual lyrics are or not, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do it with a straight face and be like, here are the lyrics you asked for. And it was anyway. So I think that helped put me in a good mood.
Right. And when something like that happens, you're like, life ain't so bad.
Just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But that wasn't even the checking in I was going to give you. I was just telling you I was in a good mood.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one.
This is a roller coaster.
Since I got smudgy in April, which is 7 months ago, I'm good at math. All I wanted to do is take him to the beach. The beach is one of my favorite places on the planet. I find it very grounding and soothing and healing and nice. And I wanted to take him, but for a multitude of reasons, that's been difficult.
There's been some difficulties, yeah.
So we had a heat wave over the weekend.
It was very
for non-Angelinos. It
wasn't. I don't think it got into the 90s, but it was definitely in the high 80s at least. Maybe more. Maybe the 90s.
So I was like, we need to beat the heat anyway. I'm dying to take.
Fahrenheit, by the way. Fahrenheit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We need to beat the heat. I'm dying to take this little puppy to the beach. And it's November. It feels like it's not gonna be like a shoulder to shoulder July weekend beach situation. So
right. No, because when it's 90 degrees in LA, that doesn't affect people.
Well, less tourists.
Right.
Okay.
No, I've heard a lot of people call it Beachvember. So
a lot of people.
Yeah. It's very common.
Name them.
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but
is that Jamie's calendar?
Beachvember. Yeah. Happy Beachvember, everybody.
So we went to the beach. Long story short, long story extremely long. We went to the beach, Jeff and I and Smudgy, and it was really fun. I was hoping it would be even more abandoned than it was, and I would let him run off the leash. But it was pretty abandoned. It wasn't like a shoulder to shoulder situation, but like every few yards there was maybe a person or
there's just a guy out on the beach going, so where do you guys stay?
or a dog. Like occasionally there was another dog, and that is actually our most dangerous scenario with him. We didn't go to a dog beach on purpose. Like we broke the law and went to a non-dog beach. But so we stayed on a leash the whole time.
Not dog beach member.
Yes, thank you. And he was scared of the waves, and that was really cute. And he was just like, I felt like I watched his brain explode, where he's like, I thought I knew what the world was, and this is something I've never experienced and very different. And
that is wild to think about that. Like there is a thing that he has never seen before that he's seeing for the first time. It's like when I had a friend in college who was from Jamaica, and we had our first snowstorm in Massachusetts my freshman year, and he was just mind blowing. Like he had heard about it, he had seen it in the movies, but he didn't. It was real, for the first time.
Right. Yeah, it's and I don't know if I'm adding a narrative that isn't there because it's convenient, but like he has been so good all week. Mm-hmm. And in my head, he's like, wow, the ocean, like I'm just this small piece of a bigger universe, and like it's really put things in perspective for me. But
you don't know if you're just adding in that narrative.
So it's probably just a coincidence, but he also, whatever. I started the sentence, I'll finish it. I know that I shouldn't be saying this, but as soon as we got out of the car at the beach, he pooped like a fifth of his body weight. Like it was insane. It must have been in there a long time.
Click.
Just the car ride, I think. I don't know. But so yeah, that was really.
And what was your guys' react? Was that like one of those ones where you guys were like, yes?
Well, this is how gross we are. Like I picked it up in the bag and I was like, wow, just like weight alone. I was like, I know this is insane, but Jeff, I need you to hold this bag. And he's like, holy crap. Like we pick up his poop every day. And this was a different.
Did you by any chance track your gas mileage on the way out versus on the way back so you could see, how that affected it?
I don't know. But yeah, it was really, really fun. And I was tired. We were all tired. And I have next week off, so maybe I'll take him again. I don't know. We'll see. You
got a whole week to do it. Lucky him getting to go to the beach. I love the beach too. I love the beach.
You do? I've never heard you say that.
Well, the first, maybe I have, but
there's
many things we have not touched on.
It's only been 12 years of podcasting.
Yes, season 15, episode 2. Yeah, no, I love the beach. I mean, that's...
Oh, right, your beach vacation with your family.
Yeah, that's like a big part of my whole thing with my family is like we go to the beach every summer, and we've been doing it for 40 years. I also, went... This isn't exactly the same thing because it's not really the beach, but I've talked about going surfing in Costa Rica in 2010, I think it was, or 2009, something like that.
I can't not hear that as bragging. I want to go so bad.
But I just, having that experience of doing that and getting in the water and catching a wave on a surfboard and going like, you're saying Smudgy in his head is going, I feel like the ocean and I'm connected to whatever. I actually had that experience while I did that surfing. Like once I caught that wave, I was like, oh, I get why people become obsessed with surfing because I feel connected to the earth and the tides and the moon and the universe.
Right. And there's just like a rhythm to it.
Yeah, this wave, who knows where it came from? Like it came from somewhere else and now it's here and it's crashing into the shore and I'm on top of it as I'm on top of the wave, like anyway, yeah, I love it. Right. So what else? Checking in. What else?
Oh, I feel like I talked for a very long time. No.
I mean, I don't time you, but sure.
I feel like what are you gonna check in with, Shawn?
Well, first of all, I will say that you'll be happy to know that our mailboxes were robbed last night.
I'm not happy to know that.
By the same person who has robbed them several times before. I don't get it. Like, I don't know why. Clearly, this is a thing where this person has a key that opens our
Can we
mailbox.
Change the lock? Can we?
Like, why is that so hard? And if you remember, the last time I called the Postmaster General, or I don't know if I specifically got the Postmaster General, but maybe I got like a sergeant or a corporal of some sort, a specialist.
I truly don't know. I was going to try to join in, but I don't know which is higher than which.
A lieutenant colonel, I don't know who it was, a full bird colonel. But I called them and they were like, oh yeah, the keys are the same all over the city. So there's not really anything we can do. And that just seems insane to me that it's like, yeah, your mail's just going to get stolen sometimes and there's nothing we can do. And this was before DeJoy became the Postmaster General and before Watson and Davis became the Postmaster Majors. So I don't know. It's very frustrating that that's an unsolvable problem.
Right.
There's just nothing to be done. Although I suppose the thing to be done is to set a watch every night, a guard, have people in the building whose job it is to stand guard over the mail every night, and maybe perform a citizen's arrest, which is, obviously all the rage these days in various parts of the country.
I wouldn't feed that beast, the vigilante.
No.
Justice.
It's very distressing that that's going on. So this is what I wanted to talk about because it's sad, but it's actually, I think, a good story ultimately. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Which is that my high school classmate Shawn died about 2 weeks ago, and this was a guy. Obviously, I've known him for 40 years because we met freshman year of high school. Apparently died of a heart attack in his sleep, which is
oh my God,
terrifying. But at the same time, if you have to go, but young, I mean, mid-50s, like crazy. But anyway, he lived out here and his, this is, there's a lot of things about this story, but One is that the memorial mass that I went to was in Granada Hills. And of course, we have a history of talking about Granada Hills on this show, that it's Tony. And then Tony goes, "Hey, I'm in Granada Hills. What's going on?" So I met up with one of my high school classmates up there, and I did actually try at one point to explain that to him. It just doesn't translate unless you know where it's coming from, like, oh yeah, it was years ago, and we were talking about, it was Granada Hills, and then it was Tony, and and it's just like, as I'm saying it, I'm going, what the fuck am I talking about? But it was also one of those things where this guy who I met up with to go to this memorial service is somebody I went to high school with, but didn't really know when I was in high school, and literally have not seen in the 37 years since I graduated from high school.
Wow.
So the two of us, we are the two other people in California besides this guy who has died. So we go to the memorial service, and let me see. I'm still trying to figure out how to tell this, because I'm trying to write a letter to, or just an account of it to my classmates, because this guy was part of the class, obviously. But, from my point of view, he was a guy who was very good at keeping in touch with people. Like, I saw him, I didn't see him a lot, but I saw him maybe 3 or 4 times over the period that I've been living in California. I went to a Super Bowl party at his house once. We met up for drinks in Chinatown once. The last time I spoke with him, he had called me about a year ago, literally almost exactly a year ago, because he was out to lunch with this other guy, the guy that I met up with at the memorial service. So he was out to lunch with Liam, and he was like, "Let's call Shawn. He would like to know that we are out to lunch, and maybe the next time the 3 of us can go out to lunch." So, it was one of those things. I mean, it was October of 2020. So I was in my house, down. Yeah. But not only that, I don't know how you are with this, but I often will not answer the phone anymore.
Of course not. Why would I ever answer the phone?
And he was calling me on FaceTime. So it was like a FaceTime call. It was like 1 o'clock. I remember it so specifically because it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was half asleep, like I was napping, and I had not trimmed my beard or my hair since the pandemic started. So I just looked like Tom Hanks in
Castaway.
Buddies. Oh yes, no, Castaways, yes. And so I was like, I don't, but I answered it. And I'm so glad I did, because I talked to him for a few minutes, and he was like, "Look who I'm with." And he showed, he held up the phone.
Like, I don't know that guy.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was. Like, hey, pretending like I knew who it was. But anyway, so we meet at this service, and he just was such a, he was, first of all, he was a huge guy, like just a big, muscular guy, even when we were sophomores in high school, so that by the time we were, junior year, he was like one of the starting defensive tackles on the football team. Senior year, he was the defensive and offensive tackle, captain of the team, like that kind of stuff, Well, I'm just saying, he was a big dude. And he got really into, after he left college, he got very into mixed martial arts. He became a fighter, and then a trainer, and a coach, and an instructor in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and but also was always just such a friendly presence. I mean, I'll talk more about what the priest said about him at the mass, but one thing he said was supposedly Shawn knew every New Yorker in California. And everybody sort of chuckled at that because it seemed like it was totally true,
Right. I just want to go back to to the last topic you had. I think those people who are so good at connections and keeping connections, that is a talent in and of itself. And I envy it because I feel like I'm almost the opposite. Where I'm like, oh, you're moving away. Guess I'll never see you again. Like it, and not because I don't care. It's just
it's hard. It takes effort, and I don't think it was hard for him for whatever reason. He just had a gift in that way,
right?
You know?
No, and
every time I saw him, he would be like, oh, and I talked to this person, and this person's doing this, and this person's like. It was always like he was more interested in telling me about people he was in touch with almost than his own life in some ways, you know?
And that's like that's what I mean. Like that connection thing it's beautiful, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I agree. So we get to the church. The church is packed. We're standing in the back. Some ushers come around and put like folding chairs out. So we're sitting in these folding chairs. And I immediately fixate on a woman who's sitting right in front of me, not on her, but on the giant tattoo she has on her arm for some reason, because it was like right in my line of sight. I was like, oh, that's quite a tattoo. It was like, I don't know. It looked to me like it was a tattoo that started as one thing and then got added to, and then added to again, and then added to. So it was like very elaborate, sort of Asian and Celtic, and she was
Asian and Celtic.
Yeah, there were both influences in there. But she was the harpist for the mass. She was playing the harp, in case you don't know what a harpist is. And anyway, it just set me off in thinking about tattoos. And I was like, oh, mixed martial arts. And all of a sudden I looked around and there were lots of people with tattoos. Like that's a connection that makes sense in my head of like people who are into MMA fighting are also people who tend to get tattoos and have tattoos. And I saw
right, not 100%, but there's probably a wide.
And there was a guy on crutches and another guy with like a giant wrap around his finger. And I was like, oh, this feels like people he knew from, you know, I don't know. There's something about like being in that kind of situation where I'm just trying to figure out, okay, how do these people fit into his life, you know? So the mass goes on, and you know, a woman, I don't know, she must have been a relative of some kind, gets up and reads a poem, and then his daughter gets up and does like a reflection on his life and what he meant to everybody in his family and stuff. And then the priest gets up and does his homily, or I don't know what you call it. I'm not familiar with Episcopalian liturgical nomenclature, but you know,
how dare you?
Speech, whatever. He just talked about how kind of what we were just saying, like that he was somebody who was very connected to people and always, you know, as this priest said, he always made everybody feel included in any kind of situation. Like if somebody was by themselves, he would go over and talk to that person and bring them into whatever was going on, and you know, was really, really good about that. And that was a thing that he had done since I knew him, you know,
wow.
from the time we were kids. And, you know, the priest said something to the effect of like, you know, people have a fear of feeling alone, and especially of feeling alone in a large group of people. And God puts people like him here to make people feel feel less alone. So anyway, then he started talking about the pandemic and how difficult that had been for the church because, you know, I didn't know where he was going with this, but he was like, we couldn't have services. And when we did get together, we couldn't sing, and everybody had to wear masks, and there was only a certain number of people. And I was like, what does
this have to do with anything?
What's he getting at? Like, is he saying that was wrong, or which of course he was not, but he said eventually they started saying, okay, we can have people come in, But if we're going to do that by, I don't remember I'm sure that, I don't know if he used the word mandate, but somebody said we have to have greeters at the door to check people's temperatures and make sure that they're not symptomatic, that they're
wearing a mask,
whatever. And he was like, I didn't want to ask people to do that because I feel like that's literally asking someone to risk their life so that other people can can celebrate. And he said, so I called Shawn, and before I could even finish the question, he was like, I'll do it, so that was that was, I just like that the guy knew him that well, because sometimes you just don't know if the priest even knows the person, but he clearly did. And he said, it felt to him like, and this was weird to me because I had been thinking about tattoos. He was like, it felt to him that Shawn could have had the words of Jesus tattooed on the inside of his heart, that Jesus said, love others as I have loved you. And that was how he lived his life. And, he did say that about, he could have had that tattooed on the inside of his heart. And then the priests, he was like, a few years ago, there was that thing where everybody was wearing bracelets that said WWJD, what would Jesus do? And he said, I was thinking about that. And
a few years ago, I was in high school.
I might not have even said a few years ago. I might be just like softening it a little bit. I thought it was still a current thing. But he was like, there was that bracelet, and he was like, I didn't do it, but I thought about how appropriate it would be if I got a bunch of bracelets made and handed them out today that said WWSD, because that's something to think about when you're living your life, is what would Shawn do in this situation? The way he went out of his way to be kind to everyone and include people. And I just thought that was a really nice thing. So then the mass ends, and I'm with my other classmate, Liam, and it was packed. Like, there were so many people there. And first of all, I felt weird being in with that many people for that long. I'll be honest. But
if that is his personality, of course, there's going to be a lot of people.
Right. I think it was his daughter in her
thing to celebrate.
Said, he had such a big heart, big enough to include everybody in this room. And so Liam and I are sitting all the way in the back row. And at one point, Liam nudges me and he goes, I guess we got here at the right time. He points, and there's like a whole courtyard full of people outside the church where the ushers have brought a bunch more chairs and a bunch of people standing. And, so Liam and I think about it for a second, and we're like, okay, the family is over in the parish hall or whatever. And we both, in retrospect, I kind of wish I had stuck it out and like really hung in there to talk to them. But we were like, I don't know if I can just hang here for half an hour, 45 minutes until we get to see those people. So Liam gets on his phone. He goes, do you want to go get a drink somewhere? And I was like, yeah. So he Googles and he's like, there has to be an Irish bar around here somewhere. And I was like, hey, we're in Granada Hills. It's Tony. And he finds an Irish bar like 3 miles from the church. And we drive over there separately. We're in separate cars. I have a Buick. He has, just kidding, I don't know what he has.
Is this pertinent?
We'll come back to that. So we go over to this bar, and it is like a classic Irish shithole dive bar. Just like, I got there before him, and I walked in, and it was bright outside, and I could not see a fucking thing when I walked in.
And everything's kind of sticky, maybe.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, first thing I said was like, by now it's like probably, I don't know, 3 p.m. or something. And I go, is your kitchen open? And she just looks at me like I'm a fucking idiot, And I was like, it's fine. It's fine. So then I go to find seats, and I sit on a thing, which immediately tips over. Like, it's just like that crappy, So I went and sat somewhere else. But so Liam comes in, and we're basically sitting there catching up on, I mean, more me than him. I was like, tell me what's been going on for the last 37 years. How did you end up out here? So he's telling me basically his whole life story. And, which I loved, honestly. And then he goes, hey, look, those guys were at the funeral, and these three guys have just walked in, and they're over by the bar. So Liam and I go over, and we're like, hey, you guys were at the funeral. We went to high school with Shawn. And they're so excited to meet guys that went to high school with him. And they're like, this was his place. Like, this was the place that he hung out. Like, he used to come here all the time. That's how we met him. We met him here at the bar. There's a bunch of people coming over here from the service. There's a restaurant getting food in here. Like, this was so they were, not only thrilled that we were there, but also like, it's him. Like, he was the one who told you guys to come here. Like, this is on purpose, but so anyway, we talked to those guys a little bit, and that was nice. But then one of them says, this is the end of the story, is he goes, it was so crazy that the priest talked about getting those bracelets made that say, what would Shawn do? Because a bunch of us last week after he died went out and got tattoos on our wrists that say WWSID, what would Shawn Innes do? And they show us, they all have this tattoo on their wrist that they got. So the end. Isn't that fucking crazy? I mean, powerful.
It's insane. And also, I'm not saying any new information. I'm maybe just underlining and highlighting, but that's success, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, sure, money, sure, fame, sure, like, all of that is nice, but like,
yeah,
that is a successful life.
That he had enough of an impact on those guys that they were like, I want to think about my life in the way that he thought about his life and see if he can have an impact on the way I approach my life going forward, Well,
and having, I can't get it, but like, clearly, providing so much love.
Yeah.
And also receiving so much love, like,
yeah,
period, end of story. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it sounds so simple, but like, that is not how most people live.
No, it's not. And so it was a powerful day, and like I said, I loved catching up with the other guy and finding out how he's from kind of the same area that I am. In fact, it turns out, like I said, I didn't really know him in high school. I mean, I knew who he was, but he was like, I hung out with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. So I was like, oh, you were one of the preppy dudes. You were one of the dudes who,
And you were a greaser. And
I was a soch, right. But it turns out, so I was talking to my father yesterday, and I didn't get the full story because there was a lot of other stuff going on, but it turns out that his parents were pals with my parents. Like, my dad was like, oh, his mother has the greatest sense of humor, and she, so now I have to talk to him about that at some point and make that connection. But anyway, it was quite a day in Granada Hills. Tony, hey, how you doing?
And I'm so sorry for your loss, obviously, but yeah, what a beautiful thing to experience. Like,
so now I'm trying to write to my classmates, and it's not easy because I'm trying to catch the right tone and also explain all the circumstances and get all the relevant information in there. You know, I have faith that I will, but
you're a good writer.
Not easy. Thank you. So we'll see. But to go back to what I was saying before about the car that Liam was driving. No, that is funny about how like that is so not relevant. And I was going through the show last week when I was doing the, you know, whatever that thing is called, the audiogram. And I clearly really miss doing stand-up, because the thing about doing stand-up is you can take real life experiences, but you have to like really get to what the important information is and get that out and whatever. And if you don't have those constraints, things can wander a bit, you know? And so I was like listening to myself and going, oh, you need some editing on some of this, you know?
At this point, I thought that it's become like a bit where I'm like, okay.
Clearly not. But so anyway, that's my checking in. That's
a good one. You win. I feel like now is a good time to take a break. Yeah. Is that the first time that I've broken us?
Yeah. Congratulations.
Let's do that, and we'll see you in a little bit with some more stuff.
Hey everybody, it's Shawn, and this is our Thanksgiving episode. So why don't you email us and let us know what you are thankful for. It feels like it's going to be episode 3 or 4 pretty soon, so that feels like it's time for another mailbag episode. So email us at mailbag@thelongshotpodcast.com and let us know what you're thankful for. Could be anything. Sugar, outer space, apples, dance. Just let us know. Now, back to our show.
And we're back. Now's the time we like to call parting shots. Shawn, parting shots. Go for it.
Okay. Well, here's my parting shot. I don't really have a parting shot. First of all, this is our Thanksgiving episode, so really I should be giving thanks for a variety of things. But
it feels like you did in your whole story.
Oh, okay, that's good.
It felt filled with Thanksgiving to me, but maybe good. some
No, that's good. That's good.
Listeners have to read between the lines better. I don't know.
Here's my parting shot. I feel like this is season 15 of the Long Shot podcast, episode 2. I think we got to face some facts. We got to own up to reality.
Oh no!
Which is that? What's that?
I don't want to.
Jamie is rarely around anymore.
He's a fun guest star. He's not a
regular. He's a guest star. Mm-hmm. He's not even a co-star.
We're delighted to have him, but you cannot depend on him.
Joe has given us the Irish goodbye.
He has. Yeah.
Do you know the GIF or the GIF, whatever it is, of Homer Simpson fading into the bushes? That's basically what Joe has done. He has faded into the bushes and Irish goodbyed us into
no statement.
He has vamoosed. He's gone.
I include him on the Zoom invite every week, and And it feels foolish at this point.
Well, and I, as you know, sent you an email this week where I sent the audiogram and I just said, I will henceforth only be including you on this email, not Joe and Jamie, because it's a waste of at least a quarter of a second to type their name.
And pulls that up.
Because they're not going to respond. I mean, over the course of a lifetime, that is like 11 years of time. You know,
I don't know if that math adds up, but
whatever. You're not a mathematician, okay? Neither am I. But
you don't know. You don't know that.
I know for a fact you're not a mathematician. But here is what I'm saying. I think, and I don't know exactly what, but I feel like we might need a new logo. Like right now our logo is all four of us together, and it feels like that's a throwback to days gone by, you know.
It's false advertising.
So I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I'm just putting it out there.
I feel like we have some listeners that would jump at that.
Well, one in particular, but maybe others as well. But, you know, I just think that that's a reality that we have to address, that we're not that show anymore. We're a different show. It's you and me, and that's it, you know? And that's okay. That's good, actually. That's great. That's amazing. That's wonderful. The
more you say it, the less I believe.
That is the most spectacular thing.
No, it's good. It's good. I like it. It's fine.
Yeah. So that's my parting shot.
Okay.
Is you know, the practical reality is the show has moved on, and it's time for all the.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
You've been frozen for quite some time, and I spent the whole time going, "Oh no! Oh no!"
Now it's telling me my internet connection is unstable.
Ugh.
I only pay like $11,000 a month for internet.
That's too much. I'm gonna say.
Well, how do you know? You're not a mathematician, or maybe
I am. Okay.
I did take a picture, by the way, of the screen with you frozen in quite a remarkable.
What was the thing? Well, I guess I'll see it soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope all of that audio stays, because it's just me being like, "Oh no, Shawn, come back!"
I had a transcript for a while, and I meant to put it up somewhere. Who knows where the fuck I was going to put it up, but it was just a transcript of this same incident happening to Jamie and myself. And so somehow both sides of the conversation were there. So it was just like a long transcript of Jamie going, "Hello? Hello? No, nothing." And then me being like, "Are you there? Are you there?"
No.
But I think I threw it away eventually.
Modern theater.
Yeah.
I have two quick parting shots.
Great.
The first is, again, smudgy related. Okay, I walk smudgy around our neighborhood. I know that's shocking, but that's what you do with a dog. But it's done. You know how they say, like, if you're single, like, get a dog because you'll meet people? Get a dog because you will meet people. I have lived in this actual neighborhood for a decade now. And
10 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, mathematician.
Just clarifying, in case anybody didn't know what a decade was.
But in the last 2 months that I've been actually walking smudgy on a regular basis on a leash, I think I've talked to more neighbors than I ever have, and like in different unexpected ways, where like some of them, like there's a couple. Anyway, there's a family a couple blocks away, and if Smudgy walks by and like the grandpa is outside, he's like bring that dog over here. And I'm like, okay. And again, it's a house so close to us, but I've never had like a human interaction with those people other than like I've done a lot of walking in the pandemic. So I have a visual relationship with them and we'll like acknowledge each other, but not much past that. But
Right.
but there's like I don't know how to explain it. Like there's different people who we have full conversations now, and it isn't even about the dog. I think the dog just
Makes it safer.
Yeah. Smudgy is the Shawn, your friend Shawn, of like we're not just talking because we're weirdos. We're talking because you're walking with a dog, and now we're talking
because it starts with the dog, but then it's a personal connection of some sort.
But I met this guy who he said that he's lived in this neighborhood for 57 years. And
almost 6 decades.
But he was like listing off like my cousin lives there, my niece lives there, and my dad owned that, my mom owned that, but then this sold. And he was saying like this property was bought for something insane, like $12,000 or something, like unreal, because it was so long ago and it was not.
You could have been here in 1934. You could have bought a house for $6.
That's what it was like. And I was like, wow, I can't even imagine ever owning a house at this point. It feels impossible.
Well, all you have to do is invent time travel and get $6. You can go back and get yourself a house.
But I like it. I like feeling a part of the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what you were talking about. Because I love this neighborhood. I always have. But to also feel a deeper connection to the actual people in it.
Right.
It's nice. My other
dog, you're saying.
And my dog. Well, and yeah, my dog's crazy. Because people are like, can I pet him? And I'm like, maybe. That's a gamble if you're willing to take, go for it.
It's really up to him.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I do like, it's insane that I'm about to say this, but I've heard about people whose like dogs are racist. They like actively don't like Black people or Mexican people. And truly that's probably just them picking up on their owner's embedded feelings. Smudgy's not racist at all. And it makes me so happy. Like he doesn't like people. No, he usually likes people. He doesn't like dogs. And if there's a person walking on the street with like a big hat or like huge bags, he doesn't like that. He doesn't like the shape that's different. But if there's a person, doesn't matter the race or gender, he likes them. And that makes me
racist against his own race, but not against.
Oh yeah, he's a traitor to his kind. I think about it all the time, and I'm like, you are. He's such an Uncle Tom. But anyway. My other parting shot, and none of this is Thanksgiving-y. Happy Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. Britney was freed, y'all. Her conservatorship ended, and I can say it because it's not me. I feel like a large percentage of the responsibility or like why that happened is due to my friends Barbara and Tess, Babs and Tess, and that's insane. Like I am so beside myself proud of them with the fact that they did something that was such they shifted the culture. Yeah. For lack of a better word. And also I'm proud of them because I feel like often I'll use I statements where you're like, oh, I wish this were different, or we should fight for climate change. Like there's a laundry list of things that people fight for, and it feels like you're fighting because you believe in it, but it's like into the wind. It does no good.
It's so gigantic and nothing is ever going to change.
Right. And they did that at the beginning and something came of it. Yeah. And that's inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, this is tangential but related. I participate in a trivia league.
Okay, how is this only coming up now?
So I get a list of questions every day, and I have to send in.
And you're like Britney Spears.
Well, first of all, let me just say that I am 8 days into the current iteration. It's a 25-day competition, and I'm 8 days in. It's a huge thing. It's all over the country, and you're in different divisions. So there's 36 people in my division right now. And I know this won't last, especially since I'm saying it. But right now I am in first place. I've been in first place the whole time. Which is like, because you can see like people's records. You can see where they went to college. You can see all those things. So I'm like, haha, motherfuckers. But anyway, I did a few days ago, there was a trivia question and I should have gotten it. And the answer was Britney Spears, and I got it wrong. It was something like,
who is in a conservatorship for the past 13 years?
Whose conservatorship was broken by a podcast of two comics in Los Angeles who are friends with someone you know. No, it was like in 1990. This is not going to be totally accurate, but it was something like in 1997, this performer had the biggest debut single in the history of pop music, blah, 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 name the performer. And I didn't say Britney. I got it wrong. I think I said like Eminem or something like that, which I think I was off by a few years and a few million downloads or whatever. But anyway, so I've had Britney on the top of my mind because I got that one wrong, when in fact I've been getting most of the questions correct because
you're very smart.
Killing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they had a big party, like celebration for Britney being free, and I'm torn. I still am torn, even though it happened past tense. I didn't go. It stressed me out too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt guilty because I was like, I want to support my friends, and I don't want to.
They themselves had a big party.
They like, yes,
mm-hmm.
but it was for it was for the movement.
It's for everybody, people.
Mm-hmm.
It's for people for everyone.
I don't know what we're saying, but yes.
If you are in some way aware of Britney Spears, you are invited.
But I guess it was multiple things. I can't believe I'm talking about this on the podcast. I felt a little bit like a poser because I am very good friends with them, but I didn't go to Britney Spears rallies. Like I didn't.
You were not committed to the movement.
This wasn't my victory. It was their victory.
Right. And
the idea of going to West Hollywood on a Friday night felt really stressful.
Oh, forget about it. No way.
The idea of being in a group of people felt very...
Oops, like I didn't do it again.
Too soon. But like being in a massive group of people, I don't know if I'm actually ready for it. I like the idea of it in theory, but I don't know if I'm there yet. And so I didn't go, and then I felt like a bad friend and person.
Oh, you should. You absolutely should. I mean, it's good that you didn't go, but you should feel bad.
But I saw both Barbara. I call her Barbara because that's how I met her, but she goes by Babs now. Mm-hmm. I saw both Babs and Tess afterwards, and it's surreal for them. It's surreal for us.
Are they still making episodes of the podcast, or is that done?
Well, they did like a new one of like, we did it, like they recorded the day after, right after the hearing.
I'll tell you this much: they ain't gonna make 15 seasons of that podcast.
No one's asking them to.
Ain't gonna happen.
But I don't know. It's cool. It's cool because like random people will say at work or something, will say like "Free Britney," and I always feel like I sound like a pathological liar, but I'm like, those are my best friends. Like my best friends started that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, and then people are like, "Oh, Ted Lasso's good." I was like, "Oh, my best friend writes for that."
Sure.
But it's true. But I sound like such a liar.
Yeah, I'm in this trivia league, and I'm not winning. There's somebody in first place. I know that person. He's in first place. Jesus Christ, Amber, give it a rest.
It is what it is. But yeah, that's my parting shot. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Episode 2. We said we're going to do 23 episodes this season.
I don't know if we could make it.
So 2 down, 21 to go. And
we'll talk about next week because we probably shouldn't record on Thanksgiving. I guess we could.
That seems insane. Folks, this has been The Long Shot. It is a podcast. You listened to it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Sometimes people watch it.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, of course. A lot of people watch it. I'm always amazed by that. And I figured out how to watch stuff on YouTube on my TV now, so I can do that when I want to. So sometimes
I mean, this is like a whole other episode, but like, why did it take you so long?
It just never occurred to me that I would want to do it.
I thought you were just like, I can't get into it.
YouTube is a computer thing. It's not a TV thing. So if I wanted to see something on YouTube, I would put it on my computer or my phone or my tablet or my
iPod
or whatever. Yeah. But now I can do it on my TV, and I'm like, I can actually. Oh, that's interesting. Let me see what Amber and I look like. Very large.
Big is no good.
Folks, we'll see you next time on The Long Shot.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Ho, ho, ho.
I'm still on the tired side of living. I still have the tendency to shout. I still shiver every time I touch you. I still have a stutter and a foul mouth. Never mind the fortune that I've gathered. I don't miss the hardware or the store. I have turned my 5 into a 30. And then I turned my 30 to an hour or more.